And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. We are simulcasting our broadcast today, so we do welcome those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, as well as on Instagram. And we're simulcasting because of a very special guest that's joining us today. Best-selling author Patricia Cornwell, someone that you guys have gotten to know because of her popular character, Kate Scarpetta. But she's out now with a brand new book that's her newest bestseller called Identity Unknown. Had a chance to interview Patricia just last year with her book Unnatural Death. Want to talk to her about the success of Scarpetta, but also what it was like for her in this book to put her in some pretty interesting and personal situations as well. If you guys have not picked up your copy on the Amazon side, you have many ways to be able to do that. Of course, you can maybe get the hardcover, as well as, of course, be able to get the Audible too, as well as the Kindle. And also for those of you who are not joining us on Amazon, you'll find the link for you guys to be able to get your copy as well. Patricia, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's fun to be here.
Look, the pleasure is definitely all mine. Congratulations. The book just came out yesterday officially. It's already another Amazon bestseller. People, I think, anytime there's a Scarpetta novel, Patricia, we always are interested to see where you're going to take her next. What has it been like for you to see the early response to Identity Unknown?
I've been really happy with it because everybody who's read it that I know of are really enjoying this book. I mean, it's gotten actually a much warmer response even than usual. I mean, oftentimes people have been very, very kind and say good things. I'm so happy about that. But I feel like Identity Unknown is a really special book. For one thing, I explore a little bit this whole notion about, are we alone on this planet? This whole thing about UAPs and UFOs and what would happen if Scarpetta had a case that at first glance, it looks like it might be something related to that, a body dropped out of an unidentified object in the sky, and what and how she handles that. Because the good thing about Scarpetta, no matter what you throw at her, she's going to handle it exactly the right way. But it's especially poignant in this story because the victim is somebody that she had a relationship in the very beginning of her career. And so there's a lot of poignant flashbacks to a summer she spent in Italy with this astrophysicist who is the major victim in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, such a great thing. And I love the layers of this book, Patricia. Hello to you, Kenneth. I see you over there on Facebook. Kenneth says, congratulations to you, Patricia. I love the layers of this as we're able to see Scarpetta, of course, in her professional capacity, right? But also in her personal one as well, her relationship with her sister and talking about her having a personal life and what that's been like for her, but also her being able to, even though she is connected so intimately with this case, to be able to put her best self forward as well. Was that part of the fun for you to show, I think, more of the human side of Scarpetta, someone who does seem in many ways larger than life?
Well, I've always said that I create a crime because it gives an excuse to have all the characters get together and entertain us and intrigue us. And yes, the personal lives of the characters, the characters and their relationship is an ecosystem, and it's a character in and of itself. And so we want to explore while we're trying to figure out what in the world is going on, because something very scary is, but at the same time, how it impacts their personal lives, especially if it's somebody from the past. And whenever that raises its head, you're going to get a ripple effect in that ecosystem, the relationships of the characters, because it's like Benton, who is Scarpetta's husband, is like, I'm not sure I knew all this about this person you were with a long time ago. Yeah. Marino, her investigative sidekick, has his own take on it because he's always been a little bit sweet on Scarpetta. And when he finds out that even in the early days of their working together in Richmond, Virginia, that she had a secret relationship with somebody in Italy. And he has to wonder, how come she's had all these relationships, but never with me? So it raises a lot of emotional questions with all the characters, and that does make it kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Marino, because one thing I thought was really fascinating, and I love the dialogue that you create in these books and the way we're able to kind of see how Scarpetta handles them. there's that almost that threatening tone in many ways with Marina when she does something when it comes to the autopsy, actually performing the autopsy, and him trying to use that as something, that's something people may have something to say about, and she kind of countering him, saying, is it really you that has the problem with this. I love the fact that she's able to be able to handle situations like that, Patricia, but also, of course, realize the seriousness of it. And I love too that you alluded to the other aspect, and that's a conversation I loved in the book too about, is there something more out there? That is something a lot of people are wondering. And Scarpetta has a very, I think, clear-eyed look at, she doesn't think that's what this is, but also realizing how people will see it. What has that conversation been like for you? The idea of, exploring the unknown, as the title of the book alludes to, Identity Unknown.
Well, that's my favorite part. When I start a Scarpetta novel, and there's so many of them now. We all know that. And by the way, you don't have to read any of them to read the latest. But when I start one, the first thing that I probe in my own self is what fills me full of wonder. What am I curious about? In the last book, I'd been reading a bunch of news clips about the latest Bigfoot, sighting. And I started thinking to myself, what is all this about Bigfoot? I'm going to look into this for the heck of it, which I did. And you might say Bigfoot has a little bit of a cameo in that last book. And you can believe he exists or not. That's up to you. Same thing with UAPs, UFOs, what we basically think of as extraterrestrials or non-human intelligence, a life that's beyond ours, perhaps on other planets. And there's been a lot in the news about that in the last couple of years. I mean, the whistleblowers who are talking about, retrieving spacecraft that were not made, that are not human technology, and even perhaps finding the remains of non-human beings. I don't know what is exactly true about all this, but I'm an open mind about it, and I'm intrigued. And I do happen to think that there is life beyond us. I mean, statistically, it's really improbable that we are the only thing in the universe if you start really looking into it. And so that was something I wanted to explore in this book. And as I say, I started with the whole notion of Scarpetta's in the morgue. She's doing an autopsy on a terrible child abuse case. And the phone rings down there, and it's Lucy, her niece, who's on her way to pick her up in the helicopter, unbeknownst to Scarpetta, because of this body that's been dropped out in the middle of nowhere that has very, very strange things associated with it. There's a crop circle around it. The dogwoods and such are in bloom, and all these flower petals are in a circle around the body. Clearly, some centrifugal force has caused that pattern. And Lucy can even tell you which way that velocity would, which way something was rotating to cause that crop circle, so to speak. Then you have that the person's skin is reddish, as if he's been exposed to some kind of radiation, and he clearly has been dropped from a height. Scarpetta can tell that right away by what she's looking at when she gets to the scene. And all of this, and here's the worst part, around the time that this probably happened, a UAP, an unidentified anomalous phenomenon, in other words, a UFO, an unidentified flying object, is picked up on radar and multiple sensors in the very area where this has occurred. So at first blush, it looks like a flying saucer, so to speak, has dropped a body from the sky. And this is what she has to respond to. And then, as I say, it's even worse because it's somebody that she has a history with it and who's also still a good friend, and how she's going to handle that. And I think it sounds funny to say when you're talking about death and violence, but I think that the story is a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun, and that people are going to enjoy exploring some of these same questions that I think about quite often.
They definitely will enjoy this story, Patricia, without a doubt. I want to say hello, Iris Bowling. Hello to you over on IG. I see you. Herschel Dixon, hello to you over on Instagram. Mr. Politic, hello to you. Walt Mosley Walt Motley Jr. Hello to you over there on IG as well. I see you. And you guys over on Amazon too. Appreciate you guys being with us. Again, everyone, we have international best-selling author Patricia Cornwell joining us today. Just this week, she's released her brand new book, Identity Unknown. She's making her first appearance with us here on Amazon Live. We've had her on Conversations Live, the radio show, before. Last thing I want to talk to you about, Patricia, that I really loved about this book, and that is, Scarpetta. You mentioned, of course, where we find Scarpetta initially, because that comes up later on in the book about the autopsy she was doing. You're not afraid to go there when it comes to these topics. Whether we're talking about, as you mentioned, ideas about Bigfoot or ideas about UFOs, but also when it comes to horrific things that we see when it comes to child abuse and child endangerment. What has that been like for you to not only have Scarpetta deal with these things, but also you as the writer having to kind of deal with them with her?
Well, that's a very good question, because dealing with such things is a big responsibility. And I am very mindful when I'm writing a scene, like in the beginning of the book, when you see that she's dealing with this child abuse case. And I am very cautious about how I describe these things and how I deal with that subject, so that I don't make it something that people can't bear, because it's a terrible thought. And the reason I have that scene with this child whose name is Luna, and that should give you a little bit of a hint that Luna's very terrible death, and worse than that, the life that she lived before she violently died, it's related to everything else that's going on. And so Scarpetta finds herself, and metaphorically, it's almost like she's gotten caught up in the tornado that lands her literally in the land of Oz, because the opening scene, the crime scene, takes place in an abandoned Oz theme park, which is really creepy, with the old yellow brick road and the dead leaves on it and the scarecrow and all these deteriorating things from this amusement park where this body has been dropped. And but more to the point, when I describe violence, and I'm able to do it because I've seen it up close and personal thousands of times. I try to be very careful how I do it. I want you to see what's there, but I don't want to traumatize people.
Yeah. Well, it is a great book. There's so much in here, and I love the layers and the way that it all pieces together. And I feel like with this book, Patricia, and you made a really good point, that our audience don't have to have read any of the other books about Kay Scarpetta to enjoy this one, but it does make you really appreciate who she's become and how she got to where she is. So I definitely want to thank you for that. Definitely thank you for stopping by Amazon Live with us today, Patricia, and looking forward to our next chat together.
Well, thank you. This has been fun, and I'll see you next time.
All right, looking forward to that. Wendy, hello to you. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying thank you so much for being with us. For you guys joining us on Amazon, make sure you guys get your copy of Identity Unknown, or one of the other books there by Patricia Cornwell. You'll see them in the carousel there. For those joining us on social media, you all will see the links for you guys as well. See you next time. Take care.